I'll give you a little nugget of what the video is about, and then I'll explain in detail afterwards. So I'm sponsoring a puppy in India. That sponsorship includes having to pay a local Indian family to actually just take him in the first place. I pay them £30 a month just to take him. That cost is on me. I'm not asking for help with that. I'll take that on myself. But no one seems to want to take a puppy for free. So I'm having to pay for someone to look after him. There's a family that's looking after him. In order to do that, I basically have to pay their rent. I have to buy the dog food on top of that, which at the moment is costing me £40 a month to buy a month's supply of pedigree wet meat pouches and pedigree dog biscuits. A month's supply of dog food is about £40. This is what I'm asking for help with. I'm sponsoring this puppy regardless. If no one helps, I will still do it. But if you do help, it relieves some of the burden from me and makes it a lot easier for me to support this puppy more long term without really worrying about it financially, because this is just coming straight out of my own savings. I already give my ad revenue for this channel to Liberia Chimpanzee Rescue, so it's just coming straight out of my savings each month, and you know, it adds up. So I'm hoping that there will be a handful of people out there that might consider donating £1 a month or £3 a month to help me purchase dog food every month for this puppy, basically, and that will buy his dog food, and that will really help. So basically it's sponsoring a puppy. If you want to help in sponsoring the puppy, then you have an opportunity to do that. The link is in the description to a Patreon account which I've set up today. In order to do that, I will update the Patreon with little video clips that the family sends me from India and photographs, and you can see the puppy grow and develop. If there comes a point where I can find them a home that doesn't want me to pay them monthly and will support the dog by themselves, that'll be amazing, and then we can close the Patreon down and no one has to pay anymore, so to speak. If I can't find that, then it will go on until something good comes along, or the family maybe decides that they can support the puppy by themselves. I will be very transparent and clear with that. I do not have any interest in taking money from anyone for my own purposes, for my own needs. If you want to support, you can. If you trust me that it does go to the dog food and what I'm saying it will go to. If you don't, then just don't support it. I will make sure this puppy is safe and well fed, and that the money goes to the puppy. It's not about me, it's about looking after the puppy. I feel responsible for him, and so if anyone wants to support in helping the pup, this will be really helpful, and I would be very appreciative of the support financially. Okay, so with that out of the way, you understand the video of what it's about. I'll tell you about the puppy, about how I met the puppy, about all the circumstances that kind of go around with it, and you can kind of understand the situation. You'll also understand why I was quite depressed and sad and unhappy when I got back from India. In the video that I filmed when I came home, you'll understand my emotional feelings, which I didn't tell you at the time. I didn't want to talk about it. After some discussion with the family, after this idea came to me a couple of days ago, I mulled it over, and I don't like asking people for help. I like to do things myself, and I feel very funny about money. I don't like asking money from other people. I mean, it's different with the Centauri thing, which I do as a charity raffle, and we raise money to charity, and I give a perfume away. This, you're not getting anything in return apart from knowing that the dog is fed, if that makes sense. It feels a bit different, but it's in support of a living creature. It's not me that you're supporting, it's the puppy. So in that way, I felt that it's okay, and that I want to do this video, and maybe if we can raise £40 a month, it'll be incredible, and that'll pay for the dog food monthly. So, okay, let me explain. I spent 3 weeks in India, and the first weekend there, it was a Saturday. I was going to, this will be a long story because I'll give you the detail. I was going to satsang every day. A satsang is a group or a small gathering of people that get together In this instance, it was to see a particular guru. There's a lady that lives in this place that is considered to be enlightened. You know, some people that live there believe that she's enlightened, and people gather around her. They sit, they be quiet, they meditate, they close their eyes, or they look at her for darshan, and you can ask questions. She speaks good English, and you get replies. And so I was going there, I was meditating, I was being with all these other spiritual people, so to speak. And that's what I was doing in India for the most part, going to these satsangs and doing my meditations and things. On this particular Saturday, we finished, I left, and as I was walking down the dirt road at the side of leaving the place, a puppy walked towards me, a little black puppy, walked straight up to me with its wagging its tail straight up to me, and I obviously straight away I got down to the floor, I stroked him, gave him some love. He was very skinny, you could see his ribs, underweight. He was about maybe 4 months old maybe, and he had mange, so he had patchy skin with scabs, not in great condition, but he looked happy, he was wagging his tail, so I was stroking him and saying hello. I'll give you all the details. So basically there was a girl in satsang that I had noticed that day. It was the first time I'd ever seen her, but I'd noticed her. I didn't speak to her or anything, but she was very beautiful. I noticed her because she's just like a beautiful girl, and she happened to be walking behind me further down the road, and as I'd stopped to stroke this puppy, she walked up from behind, and as she walked past, she turned around and stopped and started talking to me about the puppy and giving loads of attention and fuss to the pup. And she mentioned that she had some dog food in her place, and it would be nice to feed the pup. This pup just followed us everywhere, so it just followed us along. I walked with her, we chatted, and eventually I picked him up because we had to cross the road. We got to her place, she fed him, and so we didn't know what to do. And we took him back to where we found him after we fed him and put him back, because neither of our places we could put dogs in, so we didn't really know what to do in this situation. We tried to put him back where we found him, and he just followed us everywhere like a shadow. And so we're like, okay, we need to think of a plan. So because his skin condition was bad and he was really underweight, I mentioned that I knew that there was a dog shelter like 15-minute walk down the road, and she wasn't aware of that. And I was like, there's a dog shelter, I can take you. And she mentioned that she was actually looking to volunteer somewhere to do something, and that would be perfect and she would love to go. And so we walked together to the dog shelter. We got there, they put some powder on the pup, and I'm not kidding, hundreds of mites just appeared out of the fur. I mean, it was like kind of gross. I couldn't believe how many mites there were. They were just all crawling out and dropping out onto the table. Hundreds of them, literally covered in mites. It was unbelievable how many there were. And so I was like, oh my god, okay. They gave him an antibiotic injection. The girl that I'd met was shown inside the shelter, and she got to see all the dogs inside. It's horrific in there, and she came out crying. God bless her. Like I've been in there myself last time I went, and it's an emotionally soul-destroying experience, to be quite honest. I wouldn't even want to describe some of the dogs to you in there because it's just heartbreaking. It's bad, to be honest. It's pretty bad. And so she was pretty emotionally like upset from seeing it, and you know, I understood why. And we didn't know what to do. If we took the puppy out of the shelter again after it's had this mite treatment, he's just going to follow us wherever we walk. He's just going to follow. Neither of us could take the pup inside our places that we were staying, and you know, we were doing our own things. We couldn't keep the puppy, and we couldn't really dump him on the street and just leave him, because that just feels, how is he going to eat? How is he going to survive? So we made the decision to leave him in the shelter in an isolation room that they had that was separated from all the other dogs. And I was going back every day to feed him. So I was buying, you know, dog food each day and going in with a little tub. I'll put a picture. They had him in a little isolation room that was kind of, to be honest, dirty. I wasn't totally happy. It didn't look the best. and he got sick a little bit for a while, and I was quite upset, thinking that, you know, that he's caught something, or that maybe he's got parvo, because he was sick. He literally vomited when I showed him some food. He vomited, and he was weak and not in good condition. He recovered after a couple of days and seemed to be okay. I was like, okay, this is fine at the moment. And me and this girl that I met, I don't want to talk about her too much. I don't even want to tell you her name, because she's very private, and I'm sure she doesn't want her life on the internet. But we were going to the shelter and volunteering, and she was there and I was there. We were there together, and we were helping the dogs. She's like she's just an angel to me. She's beautiful. Her heart is just gorgeous. She's so sweet. She's picking all the ticks off and giving all the love and affection to all the puppies, and she was just an absolute angel. And we spent a couple of weeks together volunteering in the shelter, and I was feeding the pup, and so we kind of bonded that way. So that's the story of how I met this pup. It turns, so going forward in time, around about, well, maybe, I can't remember exactly, maybe about 4 or 5 days before I was due to leave home, I bumped into an Australian woman that lives there more permanently, that goes into the shelter. She buys dog beds and things for them in there, and feeds street dogs. I was telling her about the puppy that we had taken in and left there, and she was like, oh, you don't want to put a puppy in there. She's basically told me that dogs that go in there don't survive longer than a month before they get either parvovirus or distemper, and basically they're dead in a month. If you take dogs in there and you want them to survive, then get them out, basically. And so I was like panicking, thinking, oh my god, the dog's already been in there for like 2 weeks. And so it made me feel quite sick. And so the next morning I went at like 8 o'clock in the morning. I took the dog out of the shelter. I got them to give him the first vaccination injection, which they wouldn't do at the time when I first took him in, because they'd give him an antibiotic and they didn't want to mix things. So I took him out, they gave him a first vaccination injection to give him some protection, and I took him to my room because I didn't know what else to do. I'm not allowed dogs in there, but I took him and just hoped that no one would see. That was what I did. And so he was in my room for the whole day, and I didn't manage. I was on the internet, I was on Facebook groups saying, can someone adopt this puppy? I was messaging people that I know, even like the taxi firm that I was using, and like, can you help this puppy? And about 8:30 at night, I found someone that had known someone that was open to sponsoring to look after the puppy if I paid them. So at 8:30 at night, I found a home for this pup with a local Indian family. It's a married couple with 2 kids. So a few days after he had a home, I was checking on him, and it was a bit heartbreaking because I think the puppy had a bond with me. He trusted me. And so when I left him with this home and I walked away and left him there with the family, he escaped out of the house and ran down the road after me and kind of ran up to me, and I had to pick him up and walk him back. I felt really like difficult leaving him. So there's a bond there already. So I feel responsible for him because he trusted me, and I feel like I have to make sure he's safe. So yeah, basically what happened was he was coughing. He was coughing a lot, chesty kind of cough, and he was dribbling snot from his nose. All this yellow mucus just pouring like out of his nose. And I was like, this is not good. He needs to go see a doctor. So we took him to the shelter one evening, and the main vet there looked at him and said, yeah, he's got distemper, probably picked up from inside the shelter. And distemper is devastating in puppies around his age, which is about 4 months old. It kills 80% of puppies at that age. So the chances of surviving are like 20% survival rate. Pretty highly likely he was going to die. I was obviously upset. And they put him on a drip straight away outside. He was on a drip, so I can put you a picture of him on the drip. Although this picture that you're seeing is not while I'm there, that he had to be on a drip for like a week after I left. And this is a picture that the Indian family took to show me that they were still taking him. He's wearing a jumper in this picture that was given to him to keep him warm at night. When I was there, he didn't have a jumper, but yeah, I was with him for a full half an hour while he had the drip. When I was there, this was the day before I was due to fly home. So the day before I'm flying home, I found out he's got distemper, that he's 80% likely going to die. Within 2 to 4 weeks, he would be dead. And I was just devastated. And then the girl that I'd been spending time with rode upon a bicycle and saw me, and I was like, the puppy's in my arms, and I had to tell her that, because she's like, oh, what's wrong? And I had to tell her he's got distemper. It's like 80% probable that he's gonna die from it. And so obviously we were both upset. She had to go in and she wanted to volunteer and go in and help all the other dogs. That's the last time I got to see her. Unfortunately, we didn't get to say goodbye when I left the next day. And so, yeah, I was pretty heartbroken, to be honest, with the whole situation. It was just shit. And so I left India really quite upset. It has been over a month. It's been about 5 weeks, I think, since his first symptoms of distemper. He's doing really well. He's wagging his tail, he's eating food, he's no diarrhea, no vomiting. His coughing is he's still coughing a little bit. There's no mucus in his nose. He seems to have survived the distemper, which is a miracle. I mean, it's a miracle. One of the 20% that survives it. I mean, I'm so happy that he's strong. And so he's alive, he's healthy, and that's the situation. Now I'm looking at basically sponsoring this puppy more long term. He's clear of the risk of dying from this distemper, hopefully, and yeah, I've got to think about how I can support him longer term in terms of keeping him with a family that will look after him and have food every month. So that's the situation of how I met the puppy. One of the other things is that in India they don't like dogs inside the house. They just don't. Most Indian families don't seem to allow that. They stay outside. It's not like the UK where, you know, my dog slept on my bed. They just don't do that in India most of the time. So yeah, he sleeps outside. The unfortunate part of that is that he gets cold at night, and there's no independent shelter from the wind and the rain. So there is I don't know what you call it. Is it a veranda? What do they call them? Like a porch thing. A porch, I think. The roof thing that comes out over the top of the front door. So it has that vertical cover, but no side covering, and the floor is level. It's flat. So the patio area that he's in, that's gated, when it rains, it just comes up, and his bed that's on the floor gets wet. And unfortunately it did rain when I came back. This was about a week ago. It rained quite heavily. It stormed, rain and wind, and they left him outside. Unfortunately, he got wet, he got cold, he got a little bit sick again. It made his cough worse. So I'm not happy about that. So what I want to do is buy a doghouse. I found one on the Indian version of Amazon India. I will buy it myself regardless. If you want to contribute something towards the doghouse, I will leave an independent PayPal link. If you want to give, you know, £5 or something, it will go towards buying the doghouse. I'll buy it anyway regardless. But if you want to help in buying a doghouse separately from the monthly thing, then feel free. That whatever is added extra there is really helpful. This will provide him. It's elevated a little bit off the floor, so it shouldn't get wet when it rains. It's got a little side window to let fresh air in the summer. They can put blankets on the inside, so he has somewhere soft to sleep at night. It will give him shelter from wind and rain and keep him dry. That's the main thing. So I really want to buy this house for him. Yeah, that's it. I don't think there's much else to say. He survived distemper. He's an amazing pup. I feel, like I say, responsible for him. I want to make sure he's looked after. And if you want to help in support of the family has called the puppy Johnny. That's the name that they've given him. If you want to support little Johnny, then I would be over the moon if you could help. If not, then I understand and I will do it myself regardless. Even if no one gives anything, I'll still do it. But it would really help, and I would be very appreciative, and whatever money is raised is going to the puppy. If it gets to the point where I don't need the money anymore and they're not asking for money anymore, then I will close it down. The goal that I have in mind is £40. I don't expect anyone to pay the extra 30 that I have to pay for basically for them just to take the puppy in the first place. I don't expect the money raised is for that. I take that on myself. The money I'm hoping for is just for the food. If you can help pay for the food, that's amazing. Yeah, £40 is the ideal goal that I'm hoping to raise of a monthly target. If it goes over that, if you can see that the goal has already been reached at £40 and you still want to support it, then the money will help in me paying the rent or the what it costs just for them to take the puppy in the first place. I'll put it towards that. If it goes beyond that, then I don't know. Hopefully you guys can stop when you see it's reached a certain goal. I don't need loads of money, I just need a small amount each month. If it goes beyond that, I will make sure that medicine and food is bought for other street dogs. I can work with the people that live there and make sure there's people that there's an American guy that goes out and gives medicine and tick medication and food for all the random street dogs that have no homes. There's also an Australian lady that does the same. I'll make sure they get any excess money and they go out and buy food and medicine for all the other street dogs that don't have someone to sponsor them or a home, so to speak. So that's it. I think I've told you everything that I can. If there's any questions that you have, you can leave it in the comments and I'll answer to the best of my ability. I'm trying to be as transparent and as clear as possible so you understand the whole situation. Thank you for anyone that does decide to help. I'd be over the moon with anything that you I'm thankful that you guys are here, and if you've listened to all this, thank you. I will update the Patreon for anyone that does support it, that there will be some video clips and photos of the puppy's progress, and you can see updates of him eating and things like that. Hopefully the family won't mind me sharing that. I'll speak to them first. That's it. Thank you. I hope this video is okay and taken the right way. And I will see you soon with some more videos. Take care everyone, be blessed. Thank you. Bye.